Hello, everyone. How are we all doing today? This is a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I mean, I'm glad to be hosting you all once again. So, before much ado, let me introduce myself. My name is Promise Nwachukwu, and I'm the current leader for the AWS Cloud Security User Group West Africa. I'm here today to host this particular session for today, right? And we have amazing speakers in the house. Yes, we have amazing speakers in the house, and they are going to be sharing the wisdom from several years in the industry, how they've been championing events and how they've been making things happen. So, I'm not alone on the stage. I'm going to be introducing wonderful, wonderful, amazing speakers. Right. Before I introduce them, I would like everyone to take some time to introduce yourself. Say hello. Where are you connecting from? I mean, and of course, since it's going to be a packed full session, I would suggest that, you take your pen, your paper, or if you're the kind of person that likes to jot with your phone, I would suggest that you pick out your phone and, jot one or two things. And I'm sure there'll be something you can learn from each and everyone in the house today. All right, like I said, my name is none other than Promise Uche Nwachukwu. I'll be bringing our first speaker in the house. I'd worked with some amazing men. I will call them senior men. But like I said, the industry always comes up with amazing people. So one of the benefits you get being on this field is the fact that you get to connect with a lot of amazing people and you get to understand where their journey is coming from, how they got to this particular point where they are, and what their plan is for the, let me say, next 5 6 years. You never know, you can meet any of them along the way. So please learn as much as you can, right? So at this point in time, I'll be calling Joel Omoniyi to the stage. Yes, Joel is an information security engineer, right? And one of the things you get to know from people like this is, security is something they don't joke with, right? If you deal a lot with data, right, you want to ensure that you have security well configured in your environment. Hello, Joel. How are you doing today?
I promise. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm doing fine. And
Yes, yes, yes. Please tell us some, little intro about yourself.
okay, as you know, promise I said it earlier. I'm an information security engineer, and over the years of my career, I've gained some pretty experience in different diverse and different domains of cybersecurity, ranging from application security, security operations centers, and customizing security event pipelines, and also governance and risk compliance. So I believe with that, the audience should be able to gain a few things I will be sharing here and tips in order to
Awesome.
come up with
Awesome.
collaboration. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Thank you
that's
very
it.
much, Joel Money. I feel like it's a pleasure having you in the house today. I feel like that is a very great pleasure, and we can't wait to tap from the ocean of wisdom you've got. All right, everyone. So I'll be calling on our next speaker for today. I've known him for a while now. In fact, before I actually met him one on one, I've been hearing of the works he's been doing, right? So he's been leading the IT team in a particular university for a long time, right? He's been doing such amazing work. And I always hear that name, right? And I remember when I was starting up, I was like, oh, it would be really nice to meet guys like this, to hear from them. And guess what? The funny thing was, after about several years, one day I was hosting one of some kind of conference like that, and I think that was the first time I got to hear him actually speak in an event I was hosting. And then some years later, he reached out and he was organizing an event, and he said, "Hey, promise, I'd like you to come and speak in my event." And I mean, these are some of the benefits or the pleasures you get to enjoy when you work in an industry like that, like this. So, everyone, I want to use this opportunity to welcome none other than Kazeem Adegboyega to the stage. Hello, Kazeem. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you very much, Promise, and good
Oh,
afternoon, everybody.
awesome, awesome. So, I only gave a brief intro about you, right? But like the resume, I know it's plenty, right? But I mean, just give us some little intro about you. Let the audience get to know who is in the house with us today.
Okay. Bulk of my resume, people can get to just look it up online. But just in brief, like Promise has rightly said, I'm Kazeem, and I've been doing what I do, IT. I've been in the IT field for a while now, so over a decade and a half of experience in IT and entrepreneurship generally. So, over the years of my career, I've had the privilege to work with diverse teams and collaborate with a lot of people. Right. So, I'm a trainer, I'm a certified trainer, and I'm also a Microsoft MVP and Azure MVP. That's cloud related now. And with regards to today's topic, right, so I believe that successful collaboration goes beyond the workplace now. It's a mindset that we all need to have. It's a way of thinking that influences every aspect of our lives. So thank you for having me, and I'm eager to engage in today's conversation with everybody.
Thank you very much, Kazim. I mean, it's an honor having to have you here on stage. Like I said, these are some of the benefits people like me get. I get to sit with industry experts like this and hear directly from them the wisdom they've been able to gather over the years. So thank you very much, Kazim, for being on the show today. Okay, I will take this time to introduce our next speaker. I mean, we all hear of security and how security is very important in this age and in this time. And for this particular reason, we have none other than Adeyinka Ibrahim, who is a cloud security engineer. Hello, Adeyinka. How are you doing today? Hello, Adeyinka. Can you hear me? We're having some issues with your audio. All right. Okay. While Adeyinka is using some time to set that up, I would go ahead to introduce the next speaker. And I think that's going to be the final speaker for today. And then we can kickstart the session. So at this time, let me use the opportunity to also welcome Amuda Oluwaseun. Hello, Oluwaseun. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. I promise. How's everything?
Hello, hello. How's everything going?
Yeah, it's going on fine.
Yes, so for those of you that don't know, Amuda Oluwaseun is also a cloud security engineer. So, I mean, if you notice today, it looks like we have lots of security experts in the house. And I think that is it's a thing of pleasure, where you have people who are able to give you ideas on how you can collaborate and ensure that your environment is well secure. Right. I don't know. Let me check on Adeyinka once more if he's been able to fix his audio. Hello, Adeyinka. Any luck with the audio? I don't know if he's able to hear me. Adeyinka, are you there? Okay, no worries, no worries. Take your time, take your time. So, I mean, we have four amazing experts in the house, and I'm going to be taking my time to, call each and every one of them as we kind of tap into their wisdom and get some idea as to how they've been, doing things and how they got to this particular stage, right? I mean, so before I go deep dive into this topic for today, the major topic we are looking at today is team collaboration. That's the major topic we are looking at
No.
today. Hello, Ade, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very
Okay, cool.
much. Okay, I mean, so we don't skip your own intro. I mean, can you just give us some few wisdom tips, or let me say few introduction on who Adeyinka Ibrahim is?
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Promise.
You're
Hello
welcome.
everyone. Yeah, my name is Adeyinka. I work as a security engineer with Amazon, focusing on the customer security part of things, helping customers with their threat detection, improve their security posture in general. Um, this is my first time coming on using the platform, the Restream platform, and
Yeah.
like yeah. So I hope we're able to get as much information from me and also get as much information from everyone in the platform as well. So looking forward to the
Awesome.
next 1 hour 15 minutes.
Awesome. 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 I mean, thank you very much, Adeyinka. Like I said, it's a pleasure having experts in the house. It's there's one thing I always take note of, and it's the fact that we got here by something we were doing, right? So there was actually a conscious effort each and everyone on this stage has been doing that has gotten them to this level where they are. And for those who are coming up, for the younger ones who are coming up, I think it would be great if we are able to share this knowledge with them. I know to us we are used to it. I mean, if I ask of that Kazeem now, what are those things he has been doing? I'm sure there are a lot of things he can tell us. And of course, over the years, he's been able to build these things, right? But it would be amaze you that some people don't know about these things. Some people they want to learn, but they don't know how do they go about it, right? So maybe I would use this time, just a few minutes of our time, and then just get some wisdom tips, right, from the experts in the house, how they got where they are. Just a little, I would say, intro into their journey of how they got to this point, and how they can encourage those watching, who want to get to this point in their career and want to have some wisdom ideas on what they can do. So let me take some few minutes to just call on Joel or Omoniyi. Joel, can you just give us I would just say, just a little history of your background? How did you start up? How did you get to this point where you can say you are confident of yourself and you can be able to come out and talk about this industry you are in? Hello, Joel. Can you hear me?
All right. Thank you very much, bro.
Yeah.
Yes,
Go
I can
on. Go
hear
on.
you.
Awesome.
So it all started, you know. Okay, was, I was opportunity to while back far back in school. was going to have my internship with a consulting firm, which they offer service to clients in the telcos and in the first encounter to security and IT infrastructure at first. So then I was so much exposed to a lot of projects where I used to develop. So also, I would say it's perseverance and determination because prior to that, I have always been studying. Initially, I think I was following the path of engineering. That there is a link between software and operations, which also boils down to security. So that was where the security came from. So when I entered industry, so my first professional job was like full-time professional job was in an MSSP side with MSSP service provider, which offers consulting services to people in the customers in the financial business and telcos as Nigeria. So offers solutions in the areas of security operations. So as at that point, I think what made me have this strong knowledge in that part was it was new security as at that time. So and because I was working with an international firm that time, so we are in Nigeria. So is the kind of uh, it's not a market that is very filled with skills like that. So yeah, I was able to do enough of projects in security operations, gather pipelines, login for clients and all. So this was able to strengthen my ideas in security, which made me also uh, have some kind of experience in the cloud security. So in general, I would say it's my perseverance learning and be able to want to know more in that has made me gain this knowledge fast. So that's the I would say for that. Thank you.
All right.
Can
Thank
you,
you very
can
much,
people
Joel.
please?
Yes, yes, yeah,
I
audible,
see the
Joel.
network is.
Thank you very much, Joel. Yes. Yeah, Joel, we can hear you clearly. You're very well audible. Yeah. So thank you very much for such a wonderful intro, Joel. Um, I think there was one thing I picked from Joel's intro, and that was the fact that there was this company he joined, and then when he joined this company, right, he was exposed, to such technology, and then from there he decided to build on it. And that's one amazing thing you have to know. Sometimes there is always that company you have to join that takes you to that place. And sometimes there's always that person you have to meet, and then that person introduces you to this field, and then you then grow up from there. Right. Okay. So I will take this time now to call out our next speaker, and we just want to have an understanding. How was it for you till the point where you got to this place? How did you gain these skills to the point where you are this confident and you know that yes, I think I'm ready for exploits. So at this point, I'll be calling on Kazeem Adegboyega. Please just give us some few history down the line and how you got to this particular point.
All right. Thank you very much again, Promise. My first certification, or perhaps I should start with my first um, training, right? My first computer training way back then. So it was a programming course, right? So after learning, I think I learned some bit of C++, and people will usually say they learned COBOL, Fortran. So I started with that in 2000, year 2000. And so I felt that, I need to have some little bit of, some knowledge of how computers really work, the networking aspect of things. So it would be nice to start from that technical support background, and maybe later on I can come back to programming. So after my first programming course, so I took some time off to just learn A plus, and I got my first A plus certification back in 2002. And so in brief, I think for me, I would say that it's continuous learning that got me to where I am now. This is IT. The knowledge that we learn in IT, any skill that we acquire in IT, is going to get obsolete very quickly. So in order for us to do well, we have to take continuous learning very seriously. So we don't want to get to the point where we see ourselves in the position of knowing it all, right?
Sure.
So it is very, very key for us to be open-minded and to continuously learn, right? So for me, that was how I started programming. Then I went back to technical support, and over time too, I've had to teach in between, and sometimes when I have projects to do, so I collaborate with some of my colleagues, to work with them. You find that, for example, some trainers, when they're in class, all they do is just read textbooks, to their students. And
Sure.
especially when you're training corporate people want solutions to their problems. So
Sure.
they're in class so that they can ask you practical, relatable questions.
Scenarios.
So
Yeah.
so I'm able to when I'm not in the classroom, so I'm collaborating with some of my friends to get on projects. So that has been, that helped me to have that 50 to 50 mix of on the job experience and also training experience. And lastly, to community, right?
Yeah.
So community is something that is also important. So I would also advise everyone to tap into that, because it opens doors, right? It opens opportunities for you, so you can network and meet a lot of people. So
Mm.
that's my background in brief, and what has gotten me to where I am today.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, if there is a key thing I think I can say from what Mr. Kazeem had talked to us about is, for him, he had to go through the phase of continuous learning. He had to interact a lot with corporate people, training them, providing practical scenarios and solutions to challenges they were experiencing. And he then spoke about community. Now, everyone, I can't overemphasize the importance of belonging to a community. I don't think that probably I would have had the opportunity to meet men like Oga Kazeem, Joel, Amuda, Adeyinka, right, without actually contributing to the community. Um, I mean, I would say I think I started my community journey maybe sometime in 2018, 2019. That was where a friend introduced me into the community. And since then, I have tried my possible best to learn what I can. And it will amaze you that in the space of from then till now, I've led two communities and I've met awesome fellows, experts in the industry. So trust me, if you are listening to us today and you are not part of a community, you are missing out on something. So please endeavor to join the community. All right, I'll be calling on our next speaker in the house today, Adeyinka Ibrahim. Ibrahim, please just give us some few tips on how you started this journey, how you got to this point, what were the things you had to pick on, or the things you did consistently that kept you and brought you to this place where you currently are.
Thanks, Promise. I started back check about over a decade ago with um, had my bachelor's in information technology. After my bachelor's, during my NYSC, I was able to get into telco. So I worked in a telecommunications company. Pursued telco for about 3 to 5 years. Moved from telco, started some Cisco courses, moved into the networking core network part. Fell in love with security. Security then was still a bit shaky. Like they were not doing so much security in Nigeria, even in the whole of Africa, because you go online, you check for security jobs, you end up with less than 5 jobs in the whole of the country. So took the bold step, left, did the masters. After my masters, applied for some job. It's a different story when you're a person of color trying to break into a different field in a different country. So you you probably don't yeah, you don't really have a lot of people doing the corporate jobs you're trying to do, especially in a country that's as far as mine. So you have to work extra. You have to do more than what is required for you. It's not, and it doesn't have to be you staying late at work or trying to prove yourself. It's just doing. You can't just submit a resume then and expect to be called or expect that the job is given to you on a platter of gold. You need to tailor your resume. You need to do a lot of things. You need to join communities. I went for multiple meetups that I didn't know who was there. I just stepped in, person of color in a group of 200 people, professionals, talking, networking, and it went on for years. So it went on for years, networking with people, meeting people, reaching out to people, walking into random office, dropping your resume because I knew what I wanted. I knew where I was going to, and lucky enough, did well in school. Like did very well in school. We got like a lecturing gig before I finished my masters, which really helped me again. Um, went ahead to do a an unpaid internship for about 3 months, 4 months, just to get that local experience because you might come with 5 years of experience from every country and come here and they still expect you to have a local experience because it's way different. So I got the local experience, stayed a while, um, I moved from telco to networking, moved from networking to security, and it was full information security. And during that process of my internship, I moved from security into cloud security, doing the AWS things, and started applying to Amazon and finally getting in. And it's two things that two things that I think, three things that I think is key is the spiritual being, irrespective of who you believe in, you need to trust that spiritual being. And it's not the reason why I said the spiritual being, you need to trust the spiritual being is there's a way your mind plays mind games with you. And the decision you make, you might doubt it. But if you understand that there is a spiritual being somewhere who is driving you into a path, it helps you take some decision, it helps you take some risks because you're gonna get help. There is a feeling that comes to us as human beings that when we see help, we tend to do something better. So, take for example, the first time you ever drove a car. If you have someone with you, you feel more confident because if anything goes wrong, someone is going to help you. And I think that's where I see the spiritual being. It's not about going to a place of worship to worship. It's just about you understanding that there is help somewhere outside of you. And that's one thing, irrespective of the religion, irrespective of what you believe. I have what I believe. But I think there's a need for a spiritual being. Secondly, is persistence. Persistence in the form of you don't give up on anything. Anything you get easily, and that's what I tell people. Anything you get easily doesn't really stay. Or it's not really worth it. Like there's no easy out there. Like if I'm not trying to call names. I'm not trying to say anything. But if you look at getting a job in a tech support, because I feel most of us are doing tech. Getting a job in a tech support and getting a job as a software engineer, it's both tech. They both have different commitment and the output is different. The money you take home as a software engineer is different from what you take home as a IT support engineer, help desk engineer. But like the person that becomes a software engineer has put in a lot of work, a lot of persistence into what they do to actually get to that point. So there is no luck. It's just persistence with an opportunity. And the third thing I believe in is you need to let me see but you need to find your path. It's difficult. I don't know what to call it because I don't think there's an English word to qualify. But you need to find your path. You need to define your path in life because there's a lot of distraction out there. Irrespective of what everyone around you is doing, it's okay for you to find a path and follow it. If everyone around you decides to be a software engineer and you feel your path is to be a mechanical engineer, follow your path. Don't follow other people's path because what happens when you follow people's path is when they get to where they are going to, and you are not where you're supposed to go to, you're not there with them. You feel you're left behind. But they defined a path. They went through the process. You follow the path and learning the process. So those are the three things I'll say. Believe in a spiritual being, be persistent, and like define your path, define your life, define what you want.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, Adeyinka. I mean, I think it's been an amazing session, really amazing session. One key thing I would personally reason or connect to from what you said is understanding that there is a spiritual being there to guide you. I can tell you that in the few years of my career journey, I can tell you that it's just been the fact that aside from the work I put in, that I believe that there is someone there who is also guiding me, telling me this is what to do, this is how to go about this. Now, this doesn't take away the place of the physical interaction, but truly, I would tell you that there are some decisions in your life you would have to take where you need to believe in that spiritual being. Now, also, the same thing goes for being consistent, right? Even if you study the Quran, you study the Bible, they will tell you that look, no matter how much you believe in God, right, you still need to put in the work. You need to do the work. You see, the place of belief, the place of believing in God does not take away the place of doing the work. So persistency is key because you always have to fill in that work. Nothing takes the place of that work. If you pray from now to tomorrow and you are supposed to submit your CV and prepare for an interview to get a job, and you are praying, you did not submit your CV, how would they know that you are interested in the job? You understand? Nobody will know you are interested in the job. So, firstly, you need to do the work of having a good CV, submitting that CV, and then start preparing for hoping that they will give you a call. You understand? So nothing takes the work and the place of doing the actual work and being persistent. Thank you very much, Adeyinka Ibrahim, for that. Lastly, I'll call on Amuda Oluwaseun to give us a brief on his journey so far and how he got to this point. Hello, Amuda, are you there?
Yeah, thanks, promise.
Awesome.
Well, I would say my journey has been a very fast one because, like Ade said, you have a spiritual being somewhere else to help you out. So my journey started back then. I remember when my uncle told me to, you know, cloud is the way, learn cloud, go into AWS. But that didn't really ginger me because you have to have a motivation somewhere. Something has to motivate you that, yeah, this is what you are pursuing. Until a day he posted a status and it was like he was looking for a cloud engineer ready to pay me a good amount of money. And I was like, wow, this let me pick this as a motivation. I entered his DM. I said I wanted to start learning cloud. I want to be serious this time around. Then I started preparing for my cloud practitioner, days of endless reading, consistency, land on experience, Then after that, I wrote my solution architect. Yeah, it was a tough one, but trust me, the experience is there. Then gradually, I discovered, yeah, I can do this. Then also, I was also shadowing to working because he works with Amazon, and it was kind of a like it's very easy for me to learn because it was in production environment, and I worked with him for a while until I got my own first job with Better Work. Although I didn't really stay much at Better Work because my boss had to move me to CSOD. She worked with CSOD, and I had to work with the cloud security team, whereby I leverage on cloud services. One of the advantages I have while working there is because while I was shadowing my uncle, most of the services they were doing were cloud security tools, the likes of security or AWS services mostly. They were like security tools, and that really helped me a lot. Being now with working in a pure cloud security environment is like it makes it easier for me to adapt, like because the experience is there, and then you have to learn. One thing about security is you can't do something before you can do something, you must have a valid reason for it. You can't just say because this code works, it's fine. No, you must tell us why it's fine, what makes it secure, you know, things like that. And most importantly, working in the Gulf environment is the Gulf cloud is kind of somehow because it doesn't allow anything, keeps compliance, a lot like that that you have to enable, you have to make your code more standard, and also ability to make it easy to read, your code is concise, comment on every session, a clean code, all those things. Back then I didn't used to write clean code actually. I don't used to write clean code at first. Those things I decided to learn in that yeah, you have to write the clean code. Once you submit your PR for approval and they return it back and you're like, oh, make this code later, you have to adjust. That way you learn, continuous learning. Now I have to do this, you know, one-on-one stand-ups talking about things to implement on the, likely things, taking responsibility. The fact that they ask you to go and do this, maybe you have to go and edit a particular code. Then one thing you must take note is the fact that you are not just editing the code. You must also take a look into the fact that what can you do to improve these things? You have to take the responsibility. The responsibility has to be, you have to take responsibility in some situations, and that's what makes you a group programmer or whatever it is in any field. Ability to take responsibility, consistency, and most importantly, what motivates you. Something must motivate you for you to achieve greatness, and that would be all about me. Sure.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, Amuda Oluwaseun. I mean, I think for me, one of the key things I took from your intro was the fact that you had a wonderful source of guidance. I think that came a long way. And then, even with the source of guidance you had, you still had to put in the work. You had to put in the work to actually learn, and your consistent learning also was one of the beautiful things that helped you get you to this wonderful stage. All right. I mean, it's been amazing hearing from these wonderful experts in the house. um, I would also now love to focus more on our topic for today, which is, effective collaboration among teams. All of these things you've mentioned previously on your journey so far, how you got to this point, I believe that in there lies some of these things that made you and brought you to this stage. But now let's look at it from the point of view where you are actually working within a team. How can we be able to achieve effective collaboration? And I'm sure some of you have to work a lot with not just Nigerians, but you work with people all over the world, different races, different culture, like Adeyinka mentioned, like Oga Kazeem mentioned. You probably have been training people from various categories world of life. We want to now take a deep look into how can one achieve effective collaboration. And towards this, I'll be asking the very first question for today, which is, how can cloud professionals bridge the communication gap between technical and non-technical team members? This first question will be going to Joel Omoniyi. So, Joel Omoniyi, please, can you please enlighten us based on this question?
All right, thank you. So I will
Yeah.
say how cloud professionals can bridge the communication gap between technical and non-technical. Okay, so I will want everyone to have it at the back of their mind that the term technical and non-technical member has said a lot about how the communication can be well achieved. Because coming from a technical person point of view, or okay, let's just check it in a scenario whereby you are working in an organization, a big organization, you have the hierarchy, you have your, let me take it from a security point of view, you have your CISO, you have your CIO, down to your IT director, down to your CTO. So you know that the higher this hierarchy, the limit to the technical terms you tend to be using for better understanding. Someone sitting at the board does not want to understand anything with your network access control. They deal with, the high level of the governance, risk and compliance of the business. All what they just want to know is that, okay, for us to achieve this, what are the things we need to get these things done? So that is where I would say that this is where risk, governance, risk and compliance comes in, where you tend to have laws, you tend to have standard, you tend to have procedures and implementation. So what this means is that coming from we all used to hear that Nigeria made a policy to the banks or maybe policy of data protections kind of thing. So in situations like this, the government only gives what they want. Like, okay, data of citizens of the country should not sit outside the country. This is what the board understands. But how can we achieve that? That is where the technical terms comes in. So for you to better bridge the gap between the technical and non-technical personnel is for you to find a means to talk less in technical terms when you are climbing the ladder, the hierarchy of the organization. In what sense? Talking to your technical officer, direct CTO, you talk to them with technical terms like, you now we need to configure a network access control for these things. We need to create a security groups to block some access from here. Then your CTO can now take it when they are going to the board. They tend to they tend to reduce the complexity to the board in terms of just telling them that, okay, we have we are guiding this, and majorly, so what I would just say is majorly you can achieve this more with a diagram.
Yeah.
So when you are trying to talk to the non-technical teams, that work has worked for me a lot in my field. So whatever problem you first bring to me, I first have a schematics of whatever problem you want to solve. So when you put them in a drawing, then you tend to ask them that, okay, our data center, where this is, then we need to block this, and block this. So try as much as possible to try as much as possible to summarize whatever implementation you want to do in your organization. So that is what I will really talk about that one majorly. Give a
Yeah.
diagram for you to summarize that. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. In fact, I would thank you very much for this, Giovanni. I would say that I didn't even know that I would be asking these questions today, but something happened in my workplace yesterday, and I was speaking with my manager, and he was asking me some questions towards, you know, sorry, when you get to the level where you are looking for some kind of promotion, right? Or maybe you are looking for some more money in your organization, right? And your manager then asks you and says, "Hey, what do you think you have been doing? Why should we promote you? Why should we give you a bigger salary?" And then you now start saying, hey, I've been connecting this network from this building to this building. I was doing TCP IP connection and I was doing all of those things. You see, sometimes your manager may not be able to get to him, it may look so technical to him. But I think the key sense of what Joel was trying to say is when you are faced with a situation like this, try to simplify these terms in ways that your manager can relate to. Besides, if you are talking about a business and you were asked, how have you contributed to this business? You can say things like, I was able to bridge the expenses between expenses between this the amount this instance was charging to the amount this instance was charging, and I was able to reduce it by 30%. I mean, to that particular person you have spoken to, if he doesn't understand anything he will say you said, all he will get is that you have reduced what the cost by 30%. And that is one very key way which you can use to bridge that communication gap between technical and non-technical personnel or professionals. All right, thank you very much for that wonderful reply, John Omoniyi. My second question will be going to Kazeem Adegboyega, right? And that question is none other than, what are the key challenges in remote team communication in the context of cloud computing? What are the key challenges in remote team communication in the context of cloud computing?
All right. Thank you for the question. In my experience, I think with regards to cloud computing now, when it comes to real-time collaboration, I think one of the key challenges about remote team collaboration, in my view, would include one, impact of time zone differences. So sometimes if we need to collaborate in real time, it might force, and you have team members from everywhere, from Africa here, from the United States, and far and wide. It might be a little difficult, to get that real-time collaboration, because people believe that they are working remotely, and what matters is for me to contribute my bit, do my work as is expected of me. So except in few cases when you need to have those stand-up meetings. But other than that, so if you have a project going on that requires you to be, to communicate in real time, so that real-time collaboration might suffer slightly in the context of um, cloud computing now, and remote working remotely. And the other bit is limited face-to-face interaction. So you still can't compare. That's one of the cons now of working remotely. uh, when you work in a physical place, it's easier, because you're seeing people, face to face. So there's this spark, that brings, that helps to it helps to build relationship, among team members. But when we take it to remote work now, it tends to hinder relationship building, somewhat among team members. So, in a nutshell, those two for me are some of the challenges. One is time zone differences. Two is limited face-to-face interaction. Yeah, so
I
those are the.
mean, thank you very much, Mr. Kazim. Thank you very much for this. Just like what Mr. Kazim said, somehow I could relate to this in a great extent. I remember one of the scenarios. I used to work for Microsoft at one point through a vendor, and I was a technical support engineer at that time. right? And for me to be able to provide support to some certain people, right? It's either you come very early in the morning to call them, because at the time you are resuming, that's the time they are about closing. So it's either you call them very early in the morning, or you wait back late to be able to engage them to provide some form of support to them. Also, regarding this face-to-face communication he spoke about too, which was some bit of a challenge at the time. I remember I was working for a team in Mexico one time, and I was in Lagos, Nigeria, and for about 6 months, I was talking, chatting, discussing, solving problems with my teammates, but never saw them. And we only got to see once when we had like a we had like a what was it called, a community team building where everyone had to meet in Mexico, and that was the first time I got to actually meet and discuss with my colleagues. And I could tell you that after that event where we saw one on one, it felt like communication was a lot easier, because now you can relate to the person you've been talking to. You've seen the person one on one, and there's this spark, like Oga Kazeem said, there's this spark in the communication that you can see these people, you can meet them, you can discuss with them, you get to know them one on one. It even enhances your productivity in the office. When you can be able to meet these people one on one. I'm not saying it should happen every time, but I mean, when the opportunity abound, I feel that face-to-face communication sometimes goes a long way in resolving technical issues and challenges in the cloud computing or in the workplace. Anyway, thank you very much for that, Mr. Kazim. I mean, that was an awesome one. That was an awesome one. And my next question will be going to Amuda Oluwaseun, right? And this question would be, right, is can you share, right, effective or examples of effective cross-functional communication within a cloud team? So within
Okay.
cloud teams, how does effective cross-functional communication take place?
So let's take for example, the company I work currently with. We have a lot of teams. We have the security team, the cloud ops team, the Lumes team. A lot of them like that, whereby everybody has something they are working on. So of recent, we had an issue with introducing a particular service into the security team. And that was because it was the cloud ops team that deployed that service. We couldn't modify it. So we had to complain to them that, look, this instance is giving us a problem. Try and figure it out. And once they are done with it, they'll surely give us back. But let's come to the real world scenario whereby we have the finance team, we have the administrator team, we have the programming teams, a lot of them like that. What does a finance man understand? All he understands is cost, chart, and every other stuff. But for a programmer, all he understands is, JavaScript, programming language. He does not understand the concept of, oh, how they relate. And most times, you have to anything you want to do, use diagrams mostly. People understand diagrams. It's easy how to grab diagrams. Your real life scenario, tell them a story. That okay, you want to do this, you want to do this. Just give them an example of how things work in real life, and they can easily grab it that, oh, this is what they want to do. Okay, they want to create maybe a platform for calculating costs or to download monthly reports. Stuff like that make this very easier for them to do. And I would say that's all about when it comes to effective communication. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, Amuda Oluwaseun. I think one of the key things I can take from there is whenever you have the opportunity, try to draw diagrams. Diagrams have a way of painting a clearer picture of what the problem is and how you intend to resolve that problem. All right, we'll be moving on to our next question, and this goes to our able speaker in the house, Adeyinka Ibrahim, right? And our next question is, what role does clear documentation play in fostering effective communication among cloud professionals? What role does clear documentation play in fostering effective communication among cloud professionals?
So, for the role of documentation in effective collaboration is, I think, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, the role of documentation is so underrated, and that's one of the most difficult part of the job. Is we most times as technical people, we are used to fixing the problems. We're used to just saying, okay, now the problem is fixed, it's done. But when you work with organization, it's not about the problem being fixed. It's about writing the steps that you took to fix the problem so you can put it in the playbook. So the next person that comes and wants to fix that problem can go to that playbook and see how you fix the problem and work from there. Now, one of the key things that we look around now and we see is generative AI, getting data to provide you with solution to things. Now, those data that is produced is basically gotten from different people's documentation. So you good at a job, you can fix a problem. You still need that documentation part. And for playbook, for mentoring, teaching people in other business unit. Um, I work with a team that does the follow the sun model, which means once your shift is done, you hand over to a different team. So you can be working on a situation, you can be working on a problem, and then it's past your shift time. And you have to do an handover because it's end of day for you. There's nothing like I'm working on this, I have to see it to the end. Like it doesn't really happen like that. You have to hand it over to the next person. And when you hand it over to the next person, what the next person needs to get from you is clear documentation, clear communication in which involves, okay, what was the problem? What do you think the solution is? What have you done in respect to finding the solution? What are the other team members you've engaged? And being able to write this in a manner that even if you're a senior engineer and the junior engineer picks it up, they're able to understand what you've done. So it's more like even if you're writing a code, you should be able to put the docu strings on your code. And so that when anybody sees it, they can be able to say, okay, this is what you're trying to do, this is what you're trying to get. And for interviews, you tell people to write codes, and you worry about, oh, I did an interview, I was told to write a code, I got the code done, but I didn't get the job. Most times it's just because of how you've presented your code. It's okay for you. You've explained it to the people there. But if someone on the outside sees your code, they don't know what you've done. They're not able to follow it. It's not like you've not solved the problem, or the process in which you took is not documented. And so the next person cannot easily follow up with what you've done. So while you learn the technical part, always learn to document your daily things. And it starts with you. One of the ways I've been able to learn how to document things is at the end of you learning something, write it down. Before you learn something, write it down. Say, like this SWOT analysis of yourself. Like, what do you want to get? What have you done on this? What was the problem you faced with it? How did you solve that problem? And when you write it down, when you learn the act of journaling on little things, then writing documentation and work on what you've done becomes very easy. Thank you.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Thank you very much for this, Adeyinka. I mean, it looks like we are coming from the same background, because I remember while I was working with Microsoft through a vendor then, I used to provide also technical support then, and we followed that same model of the sun, right? And you have to learn how to explain to your colleague what the challenge is so that he can continue providing that support. Because I mean, let's say for instance, you close by 4 p.m., right? And you need to catch a bus to be able to get home on time. Would you then say, oh, because this customer is having this challenge, you will not, you will want to take it on your own, spend extra time when you have the option of being able to document what you did up to that point, and then allowing your colleague to take the rest burden from you. So I mean, I feel that documentation in a technical environment cannot be overemphasized. All right. I have this question to ask Joel Omoniyi, and then we will continue from there. Right. And that question is, how can cloud enthusiasts balance the need for technical jargon with clear non technical communication? How can cloud enthusiasts balance the need for technical jargons with clear non technical communication?
Okay, thank you. So I will say, based on my answer to the previous question, I will just say you need to know your audience. In the particular organization you are working, you have different kind of audience you might be talking to. As I made the example, you have the managerial, we call them C-level positions. You have the managerial role. Those people deals with they just want to cut costs and make the utmost use of their money. While the technical ones just want to get the solution resolved. You just want to increase the you want to increase the uptime of your system. You want to reduce the mean time to response of your incident or anything in your organization. So now, first defining your audience, you have achieved 90% of how you can balance the need for technical jargon. So now, talking to the technical teams, that is when you can do more of technical position. But initially, before then, just speak on a very high level of what the whole issue is, probably what the problem is. Then, in the process of the discussion, you tend to start diving deep into the particular issue, like technically. So, even talking to a technical person, you can still start from an high level, let the person know the problem, what solution you think might be suitable for for the problem, and still what is the gain after the problem is being resolved or after the adjustment is being resolved. So majorly know your audience, know who you are talking to. With that, you will be able to balance the means of using more technical terms than not technical terms. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for that key word. Know your audience. I mean, knowing your audience gives you a better idea on how to balance your technical jargons with the non-technical jargons. All right, on to the next question now for Kazeem Adegboyega, which is, what are the best practices for communicating complex cloud concepts to non-technical stakeholders? So I think there was a reason why we created this question for Mr. Kazeem himself. Why? Because this is something he does on a day-to-day basis, like explaining complex terms to non-technical stakeholders. I think this is one of the major things he does. So, Mr. Kazeem, please give us some good idea on this.
Okay, thank you again. Um, so I believe first that this question is connected to the first question and perhaps the last one that Joel answered, and I did well answering it. But looking at best practices, right? One is when we hear many IT professionals speak, as we've been saying, technical jargons, right? So many IT people like to speak in terms of technical terms, right? So I think one best practice is using plain language and relatable analogies, right? So you need to be able to bring it down to a language or something that people can easily relate to, so that everyone can understand, what you're talking about, and not assuming, right? It's bad to assume. Don't assume that your non-technical folks should understand what you're talking about. And sometimes, technical people like to even have this assumption that when the non-technical guys don't understand what we're talking about, oh, this guy is dullards. How can you not understand what I'm talking about here? So let's not forget that those guys are also professionals in their own fields. So if they
Yeah.
also start to use their own heavy grammars, so we perhaps might not understand too. So we need to stay away from using technical terms, right? And
Yeah.
two is explaining complicated and complex concepts to people who are non-techie, right? People
Yeah.
who are not tech experts should
Yeah.
include the use of, somebody mentioned earlier, right? The use of diagrams, pictures, so
Yeah.
it's more relatable. And importantly, to use real life examples so that they can relate to relatability, right?
Yeah.
So, and connecting those technical details to how it actually helps the business, right? So if you're talking about a business now, we want to talk about the applicability of some of these things that we're talking about. So that way they're able to measure it, they're able to have a sense and a feel of it.
True.
So those would be my take home point. But just to summarize, the take home point is use plain language and analogies when you can. You should always use that, and try to use visuals and real world examples so that those non-technical people can connect with what we're saying. So that would
Awesome.
be my tips. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for this, Mr. Kazeem. Like you all rightly know, I said this that this is something that Mr. Kazeem does on a daily, and you can see the way he broke it down for us. It's it's one thing to know something, and it's another thing to communicate what you know. You would always hear something that the best student in class doesn't mean he's the best teacher. There are some people in your class that may be very, very brilliant, but they don't know how to teach. They don't know how to communicate what they know to those in class who don't understand. Whereas there might be an average guy who doesn't probably understand all the concepts, but because he has communicative skills, he's able to explain using some of these best practices Mr. Kazim spoke about to other colleagues, and they will tell you, oh, thank you very much for this. I have a better understanding now. So I mean, I feel that it is very key as a technical person to know how to communicate your technical ideas, your technical wisdom, your technical vision to non-technical people. Because trust me, if you want to scale up the ladder in your industry, you need to be able to communicate effectively to non-technical people, because sometimes your customers, before they start making use of your product, are non-technical, and in fact your product which you are building, in fact sometimes it may be technical, but your customers themselves, they don't have to be technical. And that's why you see today, check out the commonly used products we have in the society. No matter how technical those products are, for people to use them randomly everywhere in the society, the producer was able to make everyone relate to it in very simple terms. Yeah, you may not understand how the technicalities of the ironing works, but today you can pick up your iron and iron your dress. But there is a technology that goes behind the iron. Now, not everyone may understand how the washing machine was built. What was the technology behind the washing machine? But today, you put in your clothes into the washing machine and they come out clean, right? So communication is key. for any phase in your technical industry. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Kazeem. Right, and on to the next question, we will be asking Mr. Amuda Oluwaseun, and that is none other than how do you handle communication breakdowns or conflict within a cloud team effectively?
Okay, yeah,
How
thank you.
do you handle communication breakdown or conflict within a cloud team effectively?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
There are some scenarios, you have the senior developer asking you to do a task, and all he just did was, let's take for example, just a quick site IP restriction. That doesn't really make any sense. You'll be wondering, like, oh, what should I do here? Just one word stuff that does not really tell you what exactly you want to do. Because if you just assume, you might end up doing the wrong thing. But sometimes I just want you to like just make research on it without doing anything. So stuff like that, you have to engage in dialogue. Schedule a one-on-one meeting with such person, tell him, okay, what do you want us to do? Things like that. You guys discuss, okay, then he's going to give you like more in depth because it's easier for him to give you more in depth. Some people they don't really like typing, they're not really a fan of typing messages, creating issues. No, they prefer one-on-one whereby they can express their mind that this is what I want you to do. And if there's anything you don't really get, you can always get back to him and tell him, oh, I'm having issue having access to these resources or something like that. Things like that. That's from one end, and the other end is you trying to communicate to someone and the person is not responding in the team. Like, you ask him, oh, can you help us out with this? Maybe it's the only one that has permission for that particular resource. And, it's not replying you back. Most times, it's not really the only one that has permission. Most times, it's not really the only one because they are in a different domain. You have to, like, just ask of someone, there. You can ask other people too. Maybe he's busy, piled up with work, unable to perform the task you are given to him. You can ask other people, they help you out. There are a lot in the domain. For example, the security team, we are not just one. We are, let's say, three, four, five. The cloud ops, there are over 6, 7, 8. So stuff like that, you can ask every other people that has permission. And that way, effectiveness is there because there's no downtime. It's not that you're waiting for that person a week, 2 weeks. He has not responded. So that's just one of the main things I would like to pinpoint out here.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for that. I mean, I feel like um, what was the word I would use now? I feel like Amuda Oluwaseun has given us a brief, concise way which you can handle this. But also, one other way I feel that you can also handle conflict is um, engage the person in a communication, right? Let's say, for instance, due to something happening within your organization, and maybe it's your manager or maybe it's your senior colleague, just like Mr. Amuda said, walk up, learn to be able to walk up to the person and say, hey, Mr. or hello, sir, I think maybe there is a miscommunication here, or I think you said this and I did not really get a full understanding, and maybe I would appreciate if you provide a clearer insight to this. Sometimes it's best when you engage that person than beefing that person from afar. Yeah. So sometimes it's also good that you engage that person, have a discussion with that person, and resolve whatever that conflict is between that person. All right, and to the last question I'm going to be asking, technical question I'm going to be asking before we round up this session. That question will be going to Mr. Adeyinka Ibrahim, and it is none other than what tools and technologies have you found out is most beneficial for enhancing team communication in the cloud industry? What tools and technologies have you found most beneficial for enhancing team communication in the cloud industry?
So tools and technology that are very beneficial. I think I'll start with the technology part of thing is um communication has to be both ways. So when you talk to people, like it's more like I'm talking to you, listening, you're talking back to me. One of the one of the technology I see, and it's more about in a new place, in a workspace, in a workplace where you have a lot of people from different backgrounds, a lot of people doing things. There are some basic things you need to be able to understand. You need to be part of the conversation. So I'm going to give an example. If you work, for example, if you work remotely with some tech engineers in the UK, in the UK, and you see they talk about sports a lot. You see they love sports. Don't just go ahead and say, okay, you know what, I'm not a sport person. I don't really care about them. You need to really be in place of that conversation. You need to learn what they talk about. And that's what they talk about when they say team culture. Team culture is all about what brings your team together aside to work. If you focus as a team member on just your job alone, you would turn out to be that person that doesn't know what happened to you, what happens at work after 5. You're that person that will be the last person to know when there's a promotion. You're the last person that will know when there's an internal rule. You don't want to be that person. You're the last person that will know about any team bonding activity. And there's a lot of things we say about team politics, like company politics that, oh, in my company, there's no politics. In my company, we don't do that. The problem why you feel that they don't do that is because you're not part of the circle. There's always one form of politics going on when you have two or more people. When you have two or more people. So if you have 3 people together, there's no way those 3 people will be inclined together. And when you begin to see a workplace as that, you begin to see, okay, there's a need for you to go outside your technical parts to see what people talk about outside work. And that's one of the ways you go about it. And when it goes to tools, like there'll always be a place where people come together. One of the most commonly used one is Slack. I know you need to be proficient in how to use Slack. You need to be proficient in how to use. I don't know what's called in different organizations, but there's always something called, like, with most organizations, there's always like a Wikipedia, internal Wikipedia, which contains everything about the organization, everything you need to know, every information. You need to be able to look through those and see what tools you need at every point in time. I think that's all from me.
Awesome, awesome. I think you really hit the nail on the head from the various aspects. Thank you very much, Mr. Adeyinka Ibrahim. I think you did hit the nail on the head from the various aspects, because it talked about tools and technologies. And if you see where he came from, he spoke from the aspect of, understanding what things are going on within your team, trying to communicate with your team members, not being outside of the loop, and also spoke about technologies like Slack. Some people in the organization make use of Teams. Some people make use of Fire Chats. Those are some. I know some also make use of Google Workspace or Google Chats for communication. So basically, I feel that, these are awesome tools that various companies use for communication within the team. And I think, this has been an awesome session. And we'll be rounding up the session now. But before we do, I will just ask for, what is one advice you have for someone out there who is looking at becoming an industry expert? What is that one advice you can give? So I'll start with your Omoniyi, followed by Kazeem, Amuda, and Ade, and then we close the session for the day. So what is that one advice you have for someone who is looking at becoming an industry expert?
All right, thank you. So that one advice I would say is you really know what you want to do. Just have it at the back of your mind and or know what you really want. So if you know what you really want, then there you can now leverage on what you want to achieve. So we have different sectors in the cloud. We have the cloud security, you have the DevOps, and you have the infrastructure major, you have the networking. But note, for you to go far in cloud, you need to, as a cloud infrastructure engineer, you need to have more idea in DevOps as well. So you have
Awesome.
that at the back of your mind, because definitely most of the organizations wants you to have knowledge of DevOps if you call an IT infrastructure engineer. So from there, and I will also want you to, because this is what I learned, and I think I learned it late in my career. At the early stage of your career, develop enough soft skills. You know, if you that is if you are aiming for the managerial role, because in the managerial role, you do your more of your soft skills and a little of your technical skills will speak for you. So learn more of public speaking, learn more of how you can better express yourself in diverse culture and diverse organizations you find yourself, including your technical team. If you can do both together, then bet me not, the sky is never your limit. You can still fly above it. That's all I would say.
Awesome, awesome. So the next person, Mr. Kazeem, what is that one advice you give out to someone there who wants to become an industry expert?
Okay. So my at the top of the list for me, I would say that everyone need to take feedback seriously. Feedback is going to help you improve, so it is super important that you take feedback really seriously. And just if I can add a second one, I would say that continuous learning for me is king, right? So those two, feedback and continuous learning.
All of you that don't know, hashtag continuous learning is king. So Mr. Kazim has all informed you. On to the next one, Amuda Oluwaseun. What is that one advice to someone out there who wants to become an industry expert?
I would say knowing the basics is the most important thing, the elementary things you need to know. Like know where the cloud is going to, learn that particular aspect, because if you don't learn it, you'll be left behind. But most importantly, you must know the elementary, and also
Awesome.
motivation. You need motivation.
Awesome.
Cloud at some point in time, you feel exhausted, like, oh, but the motivation is what keeps you going. That's
Awesome.
just
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Amuda Oluwaseun. Motivation is key. All right, to Adeyinka Ibrahim, what is that one advice you have for someone out there who wants to become an industry expert?
My only advice is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, get a team, join a community, reach out to people. To you can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
It's just that like you can't be that one guy. You can't be the when I say guys, I don't mean I'm saying male and female. You can't be that one person. You need a community. You need more like a family, because at the end of the day, if you see how big the cloud is, you need people. You can't build a cloud project by yourself. Let's not, because I know we talk a lot of, oh, I built a project for myself. I built a cloud project that is ready to be deployed by myself. Let's look at quality and not just mediocrity. Let's understand how you build a cross-functional team from people you've known. From like, it's better when you have people working in different places. You know about opportunities. That's when you have a big community, and that's when you go far in tech and not just cloud. But thinking of being I'm all by myself, I can do this all by myself, you you wouldn't go far. I've not seen anyone with that mindset actually do great things. You might just be in a place with your limited information. That's just
Oh, I mean, thank you very much, Mr. Adeyinka Ibrahim. I mean, this has really, really been an awesome session. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, the audience, please let's give a shout out to the speakers we had in the house today, Mr. Omoniyi, Mr. Kazeem Adegboyega, Mr. Amuda Oluwaseun, Mr. Adeyinka Ibrahim. I mean, I feel like they have blessed us with so much wisdom and so much knowledge. We need to be that great person out there. And I'm looking forward to the next session we are going to be hosting with these amazing speakers and individuals. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. All right, guys, at this point in time, we'll be rounding the session for today. Like I said, my name is none other than Promise Uche Nwachukwu. I'm the current leader for the AWS Cloud Security West Africa User Group. And these are some of the programs we hold to learn from industry experts. And today we hosted wonderful speakers like Joel Omoniyi, Mr. Kazeem Adegboyega, Mr. Amuda Oluwaseun, and Adeyinka Ibrahim. Don't hesitate to reach out to them on LinkedIn, send that connect button. They want to hear from you, they want to listen to you, and they want your feedback. Also, I would also like to point out that, if you are here and you are part of this community, I would also love you to follow our handles. If you don't follow our handles, I'd love you to follow our handles. Ensure that you click on that link there and what's the word? Yes, ensure you follow us on our social media platforms. Go to https://linktree/AWS West Africa. And also, yes, we have rounded up the trainings for this particular session, but we still have upcoming seminars, right? So just like we had this webinar for today, we are also going to be having 2 more webinars. I think we're having one in November 25th, where we'll be having some AWS speakers come to the house and give us some wisdom and knowledge, guys. So please follow our social media channels and ensure you subscribe so that you know when we have this event planned for each and everyone in the house. All right, so at this point in time, I'd like to say thank you. It's been an awesome hour with you, and see you next week, next 2 weeks. Yeah, but we'll definitely keep you updated.